Welcome to Shorty SuperCoach. What is going on, guys? We are getting awfully close to the start of the season now, and I feel awfully nervous, awfully uncomfortable. Obviously, I'm pumped for the footy, and hey, it's a long weekend, baby, so have a look at that. Saturday morning, the sun's out. We got 3 days off in a row. How bloody good is that? But in terms of SuperCoach, I feel uneasy about my team. I just can't quite settle it. I just feel like I want more players in there that the budget will allow, and I just can't quite get that mix. Do you ever get that feeling where you just wish you had another 22,000 or sometimes $7,000 just to find? Then you got to pull a bit from here, and you're just not quite happy with the depth over here. It's the stuff that keeps Shorty up at night sometimes, but nonetheless, it is crazy exciting for the actual footy. I mean, it is going to be pumping. I tried to get tickets for general admission Thursday night, exhausted, and that was about 6 or 7 days ago. It's going to get a massive crowd, but I'll be driving up the highway Friday night for a saucy encounter against the Pies. That'll be super exciting. Can't wait for that. And yeah, then we're into it. Footy's back, baby. So how good is that? Today's video, I'm going to go through all the defenders that have, at least 2 or 3% ownership. I like to call it talking about every relevant player, because if a player's in 2 or 3% of sides, then it's caught someone's attention. It might not be absolutely relevant to everyone, but I want to touch on it just in case you're that guy out there or girl who's got that player in their side and would like to know what Shorty thinks about him. So sometimes these videos, can be long, so I will timestamp it, and we'll go through each line. So yeah, obviously I'm going to try and pump out a few videos and schedule them for the week ahead. Basically going to be doing these 4 videos, just try and give my thoughts on all the players that are relevant, team reveal, and yeah, as always, if you want to get involved with my SuperCoach group, you want to get around me on TikTok, you want to get involved in my footy tip and comp, check it all out. If it's not in the description or comments of this video, it'll be in a very recent one. So, yeah, chat to you guys soon on any sort of platform, even getting around the Twitter a little bit as well when I get the chance. So, we're just loading here. So, yeah, you'll see a bit of my team here, but obviously I do a more finalised team reveal probably on the eve of the season on that first bounce. But yeah, I've done a couple of draft leagues lately, so we're really starting to build up, get all that done. So yeah, let's just go through all the players. Nick Daicos is just making me nervous. I just don't quite know what to do with him, but we'll talk about him in a moment. So yeah, I'm just going to go through every player, time-stamped as I said. Skip along to the guys you want to hear about. Would love to hear your thoughts in the comments as well. Let's start with Jack Sinclair. 7% of sides, and for good reason, I reckon. I feel like of the big 5 defenders, Sinclair, Sicily, Stewart, Docherty and Dawson, he's a clear 5, and he's definitely slipped in consideration from a month or 2 ago following the Pracky games. And Nasai Wanganeen-Malira, who I've been big on, has probably taken a little bit of that, and I don't think Sinclair's been his absolute best. So you're paying top dollar, and I feel a lot more comfortable with a couple of guys that we'll talk about over the next couple of minutes right here. And Sicily is one of those guys, pretty short and simple for him. He's going to take kick-ins, he's going to have intercepts, he's going to have beautiful deliveries by foot. He's a great player. You can bank on him. You're going to get what you pay for. Same can be said for Tom Stewart. He's just going to continue to be a star for the Cats. Koning and Radigalia in that back half just allows him to do whatever he pleases, really. Take the kick-ins, take that first kick into the back pocket and just liaise down back, intercepting as he pleases. So he's a fantastic option for your side as well. Docherty is perhaps the number 1 defender and a guy that I've been really trying to get in my team, shuffling things around. I think that possibility of him playing inside mid at times, and he's already a superstar when he plays down back anyway. So he had some really good numbers pre-season. The last 3 or 4 games where he did have some more midfield time, numbers were 120 plus on the regular late last year. So I think Docherty is potentially your number 1 get. I'm juggling things around, as I mentioned. Would love to have him in my team. Going to be one of the top ranked defenders this year. Jordan Dawson, for whatever reason, just isn't quite as popular. I think it's a bit of that sort of South Australian factor, a bit of out of sight, out of mind, a little bit of that. He hasn't probably done it for as many years in that premium status like these last three that I mentioned, but beautiful left boot, got a massive role to play at the Crows, and he's settled in beautifully there. He's a great option for your side as well. Adam Saad in the 3% of teams, but he's not for me. I think you're paying a real high-end dollar for Saad, and I'd just be preferring to pay an extra 30, 40k for those guys I just mentioned as opposed to Saad at that price point. Dale, I like him a little bit more than Saad, but again, I think that probably 520 to 580 mark is like the Bermuda Triangle in our backline at the moment. You sort of feel like, well, if you're going to pay that much, just find an extra 40, 60k to get the absolute superstar, one of the big 4 or 5. I think it's something that a lot of people are doing because there's not too much high ownership through this. Angus Brayshaw, again, he's a really solid player, averaged 100 on the dot last year. Same can be said. I'm just happy to either go to your Daicoses or your Hayden Youngs, Jordan Ridleys around the 500k, or just get 600k and spend up big. So I think Brayshaw will be there and about, so I picture him having an average in the 90s, probably mid to high. But at that price, I just feel like you're paying pretty much top dollar. He's a good option, but I would prefer to shop elsewhere. As we scroll through, I feel like Koning and Redmond I know they're in 2% of size, but don't really feel a need to comment on them too much. Hayden Young, now he is a player that is taking kick-ins, showed what he could do last year in an intercepting role, beautiful left boot. He's a bloke that burnt me years ago. I had him, I think it was in the years of Jordan Clark and Hayden Young in my backline, and they just didn't come on, but they've been guys that have been on our radar for a while. I'm not going with him, but I'm not going to talk you out of it if you are. I think he's a really talented player with massive upside, more responsibility at the Dockers. Going to be a player that is really capable of taking that average of 92 up 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 points. You know, I think that's something that's possible. But yeah, I think a lot of the discussion is about, do you go Hayden Young? Do you go Jordan Ridley? Do you go Nick Daicos? And I'm just going to talk to Jordan Ridley. It's a straight up no from me. I am just maybe scarred from last year. I just found him the most painful watch. He's a low possession type player with high efficiency, high intercept possessions, and that's great. But unless you've watched Bombers games closer than me and you feel like he's going to be freed up a little bit more, I just don't see. He just lost his ceiling last year, and I don't know if anything's changed. Like, unless I've missed something, like, is there something that's really changed at Bomberland to release him anymore? But I know in the last couple of years he was good. And last year, the ceiling just fell out of it. Like, he barely got over 120. Like, it was just frustrating. Like, consistent as ever. And you look at some of the numbers. Like, he's so efficient. Like, he'll have 14 touches and scores 103. 16 touches, scores 100. You know, he doesn't need much of the ball to actually be a quality player. But I know his possession count definitely went down. I mean, that was my feeling. Maybe my feeling was slightly off, but gee, it felt like, I mean, it has gone down, but it almost felt like it went down more. But anyway, yeah, I'd much prefer to go one of those younger generation types in Young or Daicos over Ridley. And that brings me to Nick Daicos, and the bloke got tagged in a pracky game. Come on, Sam Mitchell, what are you doing to us? Finn McGuinness wore him like an absolute glove. Brutal, you made us all nervous. And it made me nervous because I've been chopping and changing. But the kid's a star. He's going to be a superstar. Could get some midfield time. Will play a fantastic roll-off half-back. Will cop attention at times. How does he work through this? How do you want to cut up that tagged match? He had 17 touches and still scored 72. If you copped that during the year, it's not a disaster. He's only going to learn to cope with tags better. And there aren't many clubs out there that do tag. The tag won't always come for Daicos. Sometimes it might be De Goey. We've seen Crisp cop attention at times, but Daicos will be a prime candidate for it. We even saw it at times last year. So I'm a bit torn. I think there will be days where he cops a lot of attention, and scoring over 80 is going to be difficult. But I just also see this massive growth and ability for him to average 100. So I just don't know. If he's in your team, again, he's in a lot of them, 36%. I'm not going to sit here and go, you guys are crazy. Like, this bloke's a prodigy. He could develop at a rapid rate. I mean, there's a world where he averages 105. Top end, you know. He could do anything. But there could be days where he does cop a lot of attention and defensive work. But I feel like Koning will be looking to unleash him, and if he's copping attention down back, surely they swing him into the midfield and vice versa. They'll be trying to break that tag. So, again, I'm absolutely torn. I'm leaning towards picking him. I've been on him all pre-season, but, gee, that Pracky game made me nervous. I'll tell you what, gee, didn't expect that. As we scroll through and we make our way to Andy McGrath, and look at 478, he looks really nice off halfback, and we've seen him trialled as a midfielder, hasn't quite worked, and was drafted as a mid, started as a halfback, looked great, and his career is kind of stalled at times. 4% ownership, not the worst, not the worst. I don't hate the selection. I think he's probably top end mid price, and I don't see him being a keeper. That's why I've ruled him out of my team. I probably see him, he could average 95. Maybe that'd be all right, wouldn't it? But I just think he's been in the system so long, and we've never really seen him just take games by the scruff of the neck and dominate. He's a nice player, nice ball user, can gather it. But I'm just happy to play elsewhere because I just don't think he quite fit either. He doesn't quite fit that value. Don't know if we can be confident enough that we'll keep him all year, but there's a few of you out there that are liking the look of Andy McGrath. As we scroll a bit further down, really into that mid-price range, Liam Baker's in 3% of sides, probably off the back of a massive pre-season game, but it's a straight-up no from me. He's a good player, quality player, but I just don't see any relevance in SuperCoach. I think there's maybe just a few that saw those numbers and thought they'd chuck him in the team. He's not for me. The backline's proving really tough. I think a lot of us are shopping deeper in the forward line, and there's a lot of mid-price options in the midfield. The back line is really interesting. I'd be really interested to hear your thoughts on how you're shaping up. I feel like I've been a little bit light on and would love to maybe change it up. But at this stage, that's where I'm at. Have I missed anyone here? I feel like from 450 to, we've barely had anyone. Yeah, there's Baker. Yeah, just 0, 1%. Yeah, next to nothing. Fair enough. Fair enough. Sam de Koning in 4%. No. No need for that. Beautiful interceptor. Great for us last year. No need for Sammy this year, ladies and gentlemen. Will Day. 362. Fantastic proposition. He is a guy that, again, like Daicos, like Hayden Young, is talked about as that next generation superstar. And we've seen him do it at AFL level already. Not quite as consistently as the other two, but he's a bit earlier in his days, than, pun intended, than, say, Hayden Young. And obviously Daicos is a bit of an outlier with how much impact he's had early in his career. But Will Day is getting more inside midfield time. I think he attended about 16 centre bounces in the Pracky game against the Pies. So he's got merit. I think they'll look to play him inside a bit more. They want to give him as much opportunity to have an impact on the game as he can. I just haven't found a spot for him. I think sometimes it's about you want a certain price point in your structure. Who's the best fit? I'm just preferring Elliot Yeo over Will Day. I think Will Day could be a star. He could average high 80s, early 90s potentially. But compared to Elliot Yeo, I just think there's more reliability in the scoring. And I just feel a little bit safer with him, plus he's cheaper. So that's not to downplay Will Day. He has a massive amount of potential. Could be anything one day, and definitely one for the future. But for now, I'm just preferring some others, but definitely wouldn't scoff at it if he was in your team. We'll probably hit old mate Elliot Yeo pretty shortly. There he is, 51% of teams. And I must admit, 51% ownership, and all I hear about him is negativity. I put a post up, I put a video about him, he gets caned. So there are some absolute Elliot Yeo haters. And yeah, we get it. His body's cooked, mate, I understand. But he's going to play a bit of midfield. I'm sure he might play some halfback at times. He's a footballer. He scores very, very well when he's on the park. Will he be on the park for long? Who bloody knows? We've got 36 damn trades, so it's worth taking the punt. The numbers just add up. The risk versus reward, it checks out. Put him in your team. That's all I think. I really do feel like he's a lock. The numbers reflect it. Yeah, if he goes down after 4 rounds, all right, that sucks. But it's worth the risk because he could play the first 10 games. He could make his way up to over 500k. Then he gets injured. Then it's a nice, easy swap for James Sicily or Sam Docherty or someone. It makes sense to me. He's not everyone's cup of tea, but I would love to hear your thoughts on him. As we continue to scroll, and we're probably starting to get right down to some of your lower end mid prices and a few high end rookies. Hunter Clark at 3%, and he's been one of my boys. I've been on him for a while. I was massive on him maybe a few months ago. I didn't see enough in the pre-season. A few people have, because he's in 3% of teams now. I think he will play a bit of a mix of halfback and inside mid, which is great for him. I just wanted to see a bit more responsibility given to Hunter Clark. From the games I watched and the centre bounce numbers I read, I think he's just still behind Crouch and obviously Steele and Seb Ross and, there's a few other younger types in there that can't quite come to mind at the moment. But I think he's probably 4th or 5th in line, which is an awkward place to be. It means you're sort of on the periphery. You have a secondary position at halfback that you play. And I just don't think if he was just a bit cheaper, like, is it a great price? If he was just a bit cheaper somehow, you'd probably have me on board, but I'm just not quite sold on it. I needed to probably be convinced and shown a bit more in the Pracky games. He showed a bit, but not enough for me to be jumping on board, and I think most of us are thinking the same because he's a bit of a pod, but definitely taking the interest of a few. Jack Bowes, gee, I wish we saw him in the Pracky game, the final one. He looked $1 million in the one against Hawthorn, but who didn't? Shorty nearly ran out of there and got a handy kick off half back because I'll tell you what, it was easy stuff out there for the Cats. It was not too much pressure on the ball. It was a bit of a chill hit out against the Hawks. Not too much intensity for either side. I don't know where he's going to play. And I'm a Cats supporter. I hear sometimes he'll be inside mid. I hear sometimes he'll be halfback. And then I see sometimes that he's a flanker that pushes high. Half forward flank pushing up. So I've got no idea. Oh, look, not a bad selection because I think he's a guy that's shown he can score previously. He's come to the Cats for opportunity. He's impressed. He should have a round 1 berth. I wouldn't be surprised if this 11% went closer to 20% once the teams are named, and he will be named. So it'll be very interesting to see. But in terms of his position, I'm not sure. I definitely think he'll find a way to score 100 every now and then. How consistently, I don't know, because he might have days where he is on the periphery of the side, and it'll all depend on form because the Cats have a lot of players that can run through that type of role. So he could be a bloke that averages 94 for the first 6 weeks. Equally, he could be out of the team after 4 weeks. So I haven't considered him, put it that way. I've never had him in my team. I loved what he looked like against the Hawks, and I said, gee, if he came out and really played well in the second match, hello, we could be talking. But then he wasn't named. I think maybe a slight foot concern or something. So even on top of that, I'm just happy to say, nah, I'll go elsewhere, ladies and gentlemen. I'm happy to shop elsewhere. Let me know if you like this style of video as well. Will I go into the rookies? Yeah, I won't go all the way down to like your 123s, but I'll talk about a few others. Sam Darcy, yeah, he's in 9% of teams, and I don't really like it, to be honest. I think there's better options. I don't think he's going to be a scorer. Will he play forward? Will he play back? At the moment, it looks like forward, which is even more reason to say no for me. So I just think he's such a raw product. He's got great potential, amazing set of hands, but nah, I'd much prefer, if you're going to play around like that, I'd prefer to go to Liam Jones, who has a clear intercepting role, 228, who's a little bit cheaper, 26% of sides, but again, not really someone I've strongly considered. He's always had the ability to intercept like this, and it's never really translated to amazing SuperCoach scores. So, yeah, he might be a bit more unleashed at the Dogs, and maybe he's got more potential to take intercepts, but I just get the sense that Pracky game was a little bit of a one out of the box. So, he's never averaged over 77, and more or less rarely over 70. So, I don't know. That Pracky game, he was on fire. I don't know whether that's new role, new club, rejuvenated, but I'm more inclined to say no. But again, I watched the practice match. He looked awesome. So it's hard to argue if you're a believer and you want to play around that price. I just haven't sort of really been looking for a defender around that price, just the way I've sort of shaped up my team. Hayden Crozier is an interesting one. Let me just check the time. Better stop this one before we go over. Hayden Crozier is one that I saw spoken about on, I think it was a centre bounce with SuperCoach DR and that. And until then, I hadn't really considered him. But, obviously he's playing a handy role if he's in even 3% of size. And I'll just take a little bit of a look at the numbers, what he did, because I haven't really given him a thought at all. Not too many of you have. He's only in 3% of teams, but that's probably a bloke I didn't anticipate I'd be talking about. Fuck. Wasn't Oscar Baker a revelation? And Harry Sheasel, holy shit, he looked good off half-back. Hayden Crozier, half, okay, righto, 13 touches in 53% game time. Shorty's ears have been pricked. Okay, that's interesting. Going to have to do a little bit more research on that, but if he's named and if he can get 13 touches in a half a footy, tell you what, Shorty's going to go back and watch that half a footy, ladies and gentlemen. I'll get back to you on that. Love when we just have someone else to consider. Okay. I actually don't think Liam Stock is the worst either. I mean, if he gets a solid roll off halfback, I can see him averaging a solid 70. Then we've got Nick Coffield in at 6%. I'm not sure on his body. I feel like he's not quite ready at the moment. I'm happy to sort of scroll past him. And Josh Goda didn't do enough for me. I took him out of the side. As you guys know, he was in one of my early teams, and I pumped him up. Looked great in round 23 last year, but don't know. I didn't feel like he had a specified role. They threw him around all over the place. A real talent, obviously, but I'm probably leaning on going other ways with that. Like I said, you might go up to a Crozier or a Jones, or go down to a Ginbey or Ginbey, whatever way you want to say it. Francis doesn't look like he's going to get named, but definitely a prospect if he does. Could be one throughout the year. And then Ginbey, definite lock. The numbers say it. Oh, he looked great, didn't he? So I don't have to talk too much to that. He looked fantastic. McKenna, I'm not even sure if he's going to get named. I didn't think he was overly impressive against the Cats. Chimed in a little bit, but probably not the style of game we thought he would play. I think we'll wait on the teams. If he's named, yeah, probably a solid option down back to give it a bit of depth for your defence. But at this point, probably not. Wait and see. But yeah, I'll probably just leave it at that, I think. I mean, there's a couple other guys in the rookie department, but we'll probably learn a little bit more on those when the teams are named. But yeah, let me know your thoughts on that. Hopefully this video has been of interest to you. It's just a way that I feel like I can touch on all the players that out there you would like to hear me talk about. Sometimes it's really tricky to do that. If you made it all the way through the video, bloody hell, thanks. I appreciate that. But also, I will be going live this week. The lives are back. Tuesday, maybe, or Wednesday. I'm not quite sure. Still tossing and turning on that one, but I'll definitely put out a separate video and give a bit more love to that and a bit more airtime. But I'm looking forward to hearing your questions and having to chat to you guys as well. So stay tuned for that. And yeah, I'll talk to you soon. Have a good long weekend. If you're out and about holidaying, enjoy. If you're just chilling, have a good one. I certainly will. About to have some lunch. Geez, my lunch is half a chance to be burnt in the oven, actually, because I've took a little bit longer than expected. But I'll talk to you guys soon. Cheers.